If you're a student who's struggling to land an internship, then this video is for you. I landed my internship in my third year of engineering, and I've seen people make these 4 mistakes which are stopping them from achieving their goal. So without wasting any more time, let's get into the video. So the first mistake is half-baked programming knowledge. Trust me with this one, in every video of mine, again I'm saying this once more, it's like deja vu, that you need to master a programming language. It is very important, most important probably, but people don't realize that. People simply think knowing a programming language means writing those control statements, writing those functions, and they just stop right there. People don't realize how important object-oriented programming is and how important data structures are. Okay, data structures may not be what you apply on the job, but data structures are definitely what help you build logic and critical thinking. Object-oriented programming, you do apply that on the job. If you have developed any production grade system, then you know that you maintain certain data types, certain database objects in your code base. And while maintaining them, you use the exact principle of object-oriented programming. Apart from this, having a general programming knowledge is must. You see, when you're working with large projects, you are expected to also learn through code. Some companies have assessments where they simply give you code blocks and ask you to find errors in them. And that is not possible if you have no idea how to write or even read code first of all. And that is where this point comes in. When you're learning a programming language, do not leave the language only when you can print some statements, if you can print some patterns. You need to understand the underlying fundamentals of the language you choose. And those fundamentals mean that you need to understand basic control flows, functions, object-oriented programming, and data structures. Apart from these 4, you need to of course focus on language fundamentals like variables and all that stuff, which is very basic by the way. Before knowing that, you can't learn this, and after you learn this, make sure to just make notes of it. This is what you will be applying, but at the same time, these principles are also asked in interviews. And a half-baked programming knowledge means that you might just fail that interview. Most companies, when they bring up the assessments or interviews in this internship season, they usually bring up these code bases where you have to find out chaotic code and fix it. You can never do it if you don't have strong programming fundamentals, and a half-baked programming knowledge can exactly tackle that. You cannot skip OOPS, you cannot skip DSA, and you most importantly cannot skip mastering a single language. When people ask you what programming language you know, you should always have an answer. My personal answer is C++ and JavaScript. These days I'm dealing with Node.js, so I do have a strong hand on JavaScript as well, and so is with TypeScript. So you have to master the core fundamentals, and what you need to do is pick a programming language, start mastering it by learning about variables, statements, for loops, which are control flows, functions, object-oriented programming, and data structures. You have everything on the screen. If you want more information about that, you can check out my video on how to get into tech. In that video, I've broken it down quite well on how you can actually start getting into tech, and in that video I've made sure to break down the concept of learning a programming language very thoroughly, so make sure to watch that. Mistake 2, cloning instead of solving. This mistake I've seen almost with everybody. People these days have this super trend going on of I don't know what, but people have started making clones of certain websites, and sometimes they're only front-end clones. Sometimes people do integrate backend into them, but it's really of no use these days. You see, earlier making a clone was meaning that you understand how a website works, how you understand a system works, and it was enough to demonstrate that you know how these systems are working in real time. But these days, as an engineer or as a developer yourself, you are supposed to solve a problem, and you are cloning instead of solving. I've seen people have Airbnb, Instagram, YouTube clones on their resumes, and it doesn't make sense. In my internship interview, when I landed it in my third year, the one question that was asked to me was, is your project deployed? And therefore I could defend it against the interviewer. But if I had a clone there, I most certainly would have been rejected. Employers these days, they don't want a person who's cloning websites, because these days it's very easy to clone a website. You're not building something yourself. And when people find these Airbnb, Instagram, and Twitter clones on their resumes, you know, it's nothing different that you've built. Every second resume these days is having it. The employers these days are very strict. If they see anything like a clone, they will instantly reject it. And even if you don't have it named as a clone, if it looks something like very interesting and impressive, and if you don't have a demo video or anything attached, they will still reject it. If you have a demo video and the repository attached, they will most certainly open it if you have it in a very attractive and a fashioned way on your resume. And when they open it, if it's like a Twitter clone or something like that, which is just a crud app, they will instantly reject your resume. Cloning has ended. The era of cloning and making your resume beautiful has ended. Recruiters see thousands of identical clones, and they are I think, done with it, to be honest. So build projects that are solving actual problems. There are so many resources online that will help you find real world problems and people actively working on them. If somebody has built something about that problem, it's okay. You can also have your unique vision about that problem, but try to solve something unique using software. When the interviewer or even the HR or whoever's reading your resume looks at that project, they should feel like it is something unique, something new, which they have never seen. This will build a very huge impression, a very powerful impression over them about you. If you want to know more about how to build these projects that solve actual problems and also more about it, you can check out my last video on internships, this internship series, by the way. I've broken down the exact requirements and the exact roadmap you need to build the right project with the right configurations. So make sure to watch that. Mistake 3, and the one that I hate the most: building to prove and not to learn. These days, students are simply slapping random projects on their resume by just talking to AI, Claude, or Anti-Gravity and expecting an output from the HR, output from the ATS system that, okay, you might just win. And even if it does, they fail the interview. And the reason is you're building to prove, not to learn. I'll place a simple case in front of you. Example, you have built a task manager just to prove that you are an engineer or a developer, right? The task manager is also hosted and everything is working fine. You used AI to build it. Now in that interview, people are asking you about that project and you will answer everything about that project because you know what you have built, because you have built it to prove something, but you have not built it to learn. If somebody asks you that if I click that add task button 10 times, have you built validations for that? Do you have a practice which will stop these kind of bogus requests from someone? The answer is you have to install a rate limiter, but have you done that? No, because you never thought of it. You have built to prove. And when anything comes out of the scope, you fumble, you scramble your answers and you're searching for something in your brain that, okay, I might just cook that up somewhere during the interview, and you fail to do so. And when you start hesitating, they know that the project you have built is not built to learn, rather to prove. You see, when you're building something to learn something new, you start getting these doubts and these questions. At least it happens with me, that you start getting these questions that, what if this case happens? What if that case happens? What if my software breaks down in the middle of deployment? And this mindset is what will get you through the interview. Now, if you are not aware and you're simply building to prove, meaning you're simply building with the least effort just to put that project on your resume, you will most certainly fail. Prime example is simply when you pick up a problem statement. Let's say you learned from mistake 2, you pick up a problem statement and you're lazily developing the project just for the sake of putting it on your resume. There will be loopholes. People will simply ask you if you have handled this case, that case, and you've built to prove. You are proving that you're an engineer, but you're not proving that you have learned something. Right? You might just copy paste things out there, but that's not what they'll be asking in the interview. Neither the job description will have that. And you need to have these things on your resume. But if you have it on your resume and you fail to answer that in the interview, it is a major red flag in a candidate and they will just instantly reject you. That is how it works. And that is why you need to build to learn. When you're building any project, anything that you've chosen and you've learned from the last mistake, any problem statement that you've picked, you need to ensure that you're learning everything about it. Start asking yourself questions on how I can make this project better. Are there any loopholes like the one I told you? What if somebody's spamming the task manager button again and again? That means you have 10 bogus requests in just a minute. You need to stop them from generating multiple tasks in a minute. Those kind of architectural decisions is what will get you through these interview rounds and even through the resume selection rounds. You need to have the right things on your resume, and when you're building to learn, everything on your resume will be true. When I applied to that internship, I swear I was asked, I think 60% of my resume, but even if they would have asked 100% of it, I would have answered everything because there was nothing false on your resume. Okay, there were maybe a few technologies I would have listed in the skill section which I was not that good with, but I still put them because I used them. But I could have still answered some basic questions about it. As for my projects, as for my achievements, as for my whatever other things that I had on my resume, everything was 100% true. And that is because I was building to learn. As soon as I was learning something, I was writing it down, noting it down, and I was learning how can I make it better. If I was building to prove, I would have simply slapped it on that project and I moved on. And then in the interview, when they would have asked me questions about scaling that project, I would have instantly crumbled under pressure. When you're constantly learning in software engineering, you will just keep flying across the entire track without even realizing. You will be ahead of so many people because trust me, there's a very less amount of people who are doing it for learning. They're simply doing it to prove. And when you do it when you build to learn is when you are ahead of the entire grid. So it's your decision whether you build to prove or build to run, but I would really advise you to take this mistake very seriously and start building for learning. Mistake 4 and the last one, wildly applying with a bad resume. You see a job opening, you don't even read how much experience it wants, whether it is even an internship, whether it matches your skill set, and you're spamming on every opening you see. With that, you also don't have a good resume. For the past 3 mistakes, we have built your programming knowledge, we have built your good projects, and we have also built your fundamentals about each project. But now you need to ensure that whatever you have done, whatever your effort is in the entire past 3 mistakes, that is highlighted in this last part, which is your resume. Your resume is your face as a developer. You are judged on the basis of your resume when you're sitting in that room or even your application comes in. And on your resume, you need to have everything special that you have done over there. When they're reading through your projects, they will learn about some lines, they will learn about some points that you've put on your resume. And when they read it, they need to ensure that you have done it. So they will ask you, how did you do this point right here that you've listed? And if you fail to explain that, that's a major red flag in any candidate. And that is where they will just throw you out of the room by rejecting you, and you will be again in the market searching for jobs. And that is where things go south for most developers and engineers. You need to first have a good resume. A good resume meaning you need to have things on your resume which you know. Yes, people lie on their resumes all the time, but that's not what I would advise. At least I've never done lying on my resume. Everything on my resume has always been true because I love tech. So whatever I build, I learn about it. Remember mistake 3? I always learn whatever I build. So everything on my resume was always true. But I've seen people lying on their resume and still somehow they succeed. But I advise you against it. Please do not put anything on your resume that will make you go ahead and question yourself in the interview that whatever they are asking, do I even know it? So the question that they are asking you, you should not be asking yourself. That is the biggest red flag they will see in the candidate. And you should always have everything on your resume that you've done. You need to ensure that you're using production grade words. You have all of the AIs in the world, Cursor, Perplexity, Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini to your disposal. Use any AI you want, but ensure that your resume is looking absolutely professional and beautiful. When I'm reading through it, I do not want the buzzword mania. So avoid using buzzwords in your resume. Keep it simple, but not too simple like it's written by a child. It should look professional, simple, easy to understand. You know the wording compact and concise, that is what they want right there on your resume. When you build your resume that way, it will also ensure a high ATS score. Now, how do you calculate the ATS score? This is a website, Enhance CV. This website, I use it myself, and also a few of my friends advised me to use it. It normally gives you a good ATS score, but if you still don't trust it, you can simply give your resume in the PDF format to any AI and ask them to judge it based on your profile. And now, after having a good resume, your application must also be calculated. So you cannot just randomly apply to anything. Search up jobs which are about your role. Search up roles which do not require experience. I'm assuming that people watching this video have no experience and you are searching for internships, but if you have prior internship experiences, that will help you out a lot. But of course, you can choose to apply for whatever jobs you want if you have experience, but if you don't have experience is what I'm assuming. So search up jobs. So if you don't have any experience is what I'm assuming for the average viewer of this video, I would ask you to search up jobs which have little to no experience requirements, and they are asking students who are currently in their third year or final years of their engineering or whatever degrees you're pursuing. Okay, those jobs require students and they just want to give you a PPO. PPO stands for a pre-placement offer, which means that they want to employ you after the completion of your internship because you've been in the company, you understand their culture, and you would be happy to be with the company throughout. So make sure to build your resume well, just the way I taught you, and instead of wildly applying, target such job openings. Now, when you target such job openings, your resume score will ultimately stand out. Imagine an employer looking for an Angular and a Nest.js developer. Instead, there comes your resume with React and Express.js. What do you think your chances would be for getting hired? Absolutely zero. Okay, there might be some chance that they pick up your resume, but in the current market, they will surely find an Angular developer within just an hour or so. Somebody will definitely apply with the skill Angular on their resume and they will have the upper hand over you. So apply to the jobs that are catering to your profile, catering to your development stack, and that will help you because tomorrow when somebody opens up that resume, they see Node, Express, React, and that is exactly what they want. They will instantly schedule your interview. After that, it's all about the mistake 1, 2, and 3 if you've made them or not. And if you've not, then you get through that interview and you finally get that internship and you're good to go with that. And with that, we have completed all the mistakes that a fresher or a internship searching student can make. Please take all of these 4 mistakes very seriously, and these are the only mistakes that will get you through. Trust me, you don't need to do anything more. You just need to have the correct approach, which is what I told you earlier, and having a good resume and a good profile with this is the only thing that you need. So please make sure to follow all of that, and there's nothing more than this. It's just all about your effort end of the day. So put in all of your effort, and I hope you get that internship. Thank you everybody for watching the video. Make sure to like and subscribe and share this video to your friends, and make sure to follow all of the tips and ideas that I gave you. And that's all from my side. Thank you so much everybody. Ninad out.